Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome to T&T's Beat, celebrating music, innovation, and protection. My name is Melissa Jimenez, and I am the General Manager of the Music Unit at Global Trinidad and Tobago. We are absolutely thrilled to co-host this webinar with the Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office, TTIPO. Always a pleasure as we celebrate World Intellectual Property Day 2025, which takes place tomorrow. This year's theme, IP and Music, Feel the Beat of IP, really resonates with us at Global Trinidad and Tobago. We believe that intellectual property is the lifeblood of a thriving music industry, and it's essential that our creators understand how to protect and leverage their work. Today, we've curated a dynamic program designed to explore the instrumental role of intellectual property in driving trade, generating revenue, and enhancing the protection of valuable assets within our music industry. We'll hear from government officials, legal experts, and successful music professionals who are actively shaping the landscape of music in Trinidad and Tobago. And speaking of shaping the landscape, we are incredibly proud of the strides we've been making in Trinidad and Tobago to strengthen our IP framework for music. A prime example of this is the securing of the Geographical Indication, GI designation, for the steel pan, our national instrument. This GI not only protects the authenticity and origin of the steel pan, but also enhances its value and recognition on the global stage. It's a testament to our commitment to preserving our cultural heritage through IP. We're also seeing more and more of our talented artists successfully navigating the world of sync licensing, securing placements in international films, television shows, and commercials. These sync deals not only provide valuable revenue streams for our creators, but also expose our music to new audiences worldwide. These are just a few examples of how IP is working for our music industry, and we're excited to explore these opportunities further today. We'll be diving into topics such as the importance of IP in fostering innovation and economic growth, practical examples of how local music professionals have successfully utilized IP, the legal aspects of protecting your creative assets. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, for their global campaign and for highlighting the importance of IP across diverse music sectors. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you find this webinar informative, engaging, and inspiring. Please allow me to introduce Ms. Natushka Lachman, Project Officer with the Music Unit, and your Master of Ceremonies for the rest of the event's proceedings. Have a great session.
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez, and thank you for that welcome and overview. Next up, we have, I know I fixed it, sorry. Next up, we have Mr. Regan Asgarali, SC, Controller of the Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office, who will deliver the keynote address, which focuses on the importance of IP in the music industry. We invite Mr. Asgarali to continue. Thank you.
And Tobago, this is Regan Asgarali, the Controller of the Intellectual Property Office of Trinidad and Tobago. I wish to welcome all, and I want to thank my colleague, Ms. Melissa Jimenez of Music TT and now of Global Trinidad and Tobago for her collaboration for World IP Day. Intellectual property and music feel the beat. Also want to recognize my team, Richard Aching, Nicholas Gayapasad, and Dr. Kavisita Hal for collaborating in today's important webinar. Also wish to thank Martin Manmohan for doing the panel discussion success stories leveraging IP for music trade and revenue, as well as Akua Lead for coming in on the Q&A sessions, etc. So we really have a wonderful webinar today. Good morning all as well. It's a pleasure to deliver a few remarks to all of you logged on to today's webinars. We join the global community in celebrating World Intellectual Property Day 2025. It's observed annually on April 26th. It's an important day dedicated to recognizing the vital role that intellectual property plays in encouraging innovation, creativity, and economic development. This year, WIPO's theme is IP and Music, Feel the Beat of IP. This theme invites us to explore the intersection of music and intellectual property and to appreciate how the global IP system supports musicians, composers, producers, and performers in protecting their creative works, earning a livelihood, and growing the creative economy. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have long celebrated music as a cornerstone of our national identity. 2016 study by Dr. Vanus James, entitled The Contribution of Copyright-Based Industries to the Economy of Trinidad and Tobago, showed that copyright industries contributed 5.5% to GDP and grew faster than the overall economy, with a contribution to total employment of 3.28%. Trinidad and Tobago is also a net exporter of creative goods, led by its iconic music industry. This growth underscores the sector's innovative capacity, particularly its rapid digitalization of production and distribution processes. From the pulsating rhythms of soca, calypso, chutney soca, chutney, to the global resonance of our beloved steel pan, music is not only part of our heritage, it is a key to our future. And so the 2025 theme aligns seamlessly with our vision, our national development strategy, which envisions a society of independent thinkers who are innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial. In this rapidly changing digital world, the importance of protecting musical creativity has never been more urgent. The IP system is essential, ensuring that those who contribute to this vibrant art form are fairly rewarded and that their rights are respected both locally and globally. This is why the Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office, under the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs, remains firmly committed to empowering citizens to innovate in every area of life, how we live, work, and play. One of our proudest accomplishments in recent years was the registration of the Trinidad and Tobago steel pan as a geographical indication, a historic milestone that safeguards the legacy and authenticity of our national instrument. I am particularly proud to have conceptualized this project and to see that it grew into collaborating with the whole ecosystem, such as MITCO, Pan Trinbago, the Ministry of Culture, Tourism and the Arts, who also played a pivotal role, and IP consultant Audrey Orbad. This project represents the power of partnership and the value of using the intellectual property system to protect what is uniquely ours. There is more work to be done. We are working right now with the European Union Commission to see if we can extend protection to the EU space. And I look forward to branded steel pans with the term Trinidad and Tobago steel pan registered geographical indication being exported soon from our shores to the world. Trinidad and Tobago also boasts a robust legislative framework for the protection of music and the creative and cultural industries. We have acceded to all major copyright-related treaties, including the Beijing Treaty on Audiovisual Performances, which grants performers rights over their recorded performances. We're going further. Plans are underway to extend copyright protection to the life of the author plus 70 years, and similarly extend the rights of performers and producers of sound recordings from 50 to 70 years. This move will bring our laws in line with international standards and ensure long-term protection for creative citizens. Recently, and pursuant to meetings held between the controller, myself, and Mr. Sharif Sadala, the former executive director of WIPO, recommendations were made to have the Trinidad and Tobago as one of the first pilot countries to have its creative economy ecosystem measured via the WIPO Creative Economy Data Model under the auspice of Dr. Dimitar Ganchev, WIPO's Creative Economy Division. The CEDM is a tool incorporating numerous factors in order to measure the size and estimate the contributions the copyright industry of a country has on its economy. There also plans to further develop and promote legitimate streaming content from Trinidad and Tobago, enabling artists to reach further global audiences and benefit financially from their creativity. They're already benefiting from Spotify and other digital platforms. Education remains central to our strategy. The National Intellectual Property Training Center continues to provide vital training and information services with a special focus on the creative and cultural industries, music, film, fashion, art, and design. By building IP awareness across these sectors, we are creating a generation of creators who understand their rights and how to leverage them. This year, we also celebrate a significant regional collaboration through the World Intellectual Property Day campaign for Latin America and the Caribbean, LAC, featuring voices from across our region, including creators from Trinidad and Tobago. This campaign highlights the essential role of IP in the creative economy. You can find these inspiring stories online under the hashtag World IP Day LAC and on IPO Trinbago. Looking ahead, we are thrilled to announce a very special event in May 2025. Feel the Beat of Steel Pan, a tribute to the steel pan's cultural and legal journey. This event celebrates the steel pan's elevation as a national symbol, now proudly featured on our coat of arms. In closing, the TTIP reaffirms its commitment to not only raising awareness about the importance of intellectual property and IP rights among the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, but also to equipping them with the tools needed to drive economic growth through creativity and innovation. So let us not just march to the beat of our own drums, but let us also chip down the road to our future, to the vibrant sounds of our culture. And although I am not physically there to celebrate World IP Day as I'm abroad, I wish to thank all for being part of our National World IP Day celebrations. Happy World Intellectual Property Day 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Asghar Ali. So next up, we now invite both Mr. Nicholas Gaya-Prasad and Dr. Kavesh Sitahal, who deputy Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office, who will be delivering a presentation highlighting the critical role of intellectual property in fostering innovation, economic growth, and cultural development within the music sector. Please let me welcome both Mr. Nicholas Gaya-Prasad and Dr. Kavesh Sitahal.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all can hear me clearly. My name is Nicholas Gaya-Prasad. I am a technical examiner here at the Intellectual Property Office. And alongside myself is Dr. Kavesh Sitahal, who is going to help me do a really quick presentation on intellectual property and music. As you would have learned earlier, this year for World IP Day, we are celebrating IP and music. So just really briefly, this is the outline as to what to expect for our few slides. There are about 14 slides. I'm just going to introduce intellectual property. I'm going to define it. We're going to speak about different types of intellectual property rights, more specifically copyright and related rights, trademarks, and then we will end things off. So to begin with, what is intellectual property? For those of you who do not know or are not aware, intellectual property or IP refers to the expressed creations of the mind. So it's more than just having an idea or saying, I have an idea for something. You have to take this idea and then you have to write it down or sing it, perform it, record it in some form or fashion. That physical, tangible expression is what we refer to as intellectual property. And on screen, you will see peppered in throughout the presentation a bunch of images of some of our very popular artists who have significantly contributed to the music or to the rich music culture that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, I have Calypso Rose on screen at the moment. Now, intellectual property, as I mentioned, it is the express creation of the mind. And this, or under the category of intellectual property, we have copyright and related rights and industrial property. As we would have mentioned earlier, this year we are celebrating IP and music. Music is protected or would fall under the copyright and related rights category. So we will be spending quite a lot of time in this category as we proceed throughout the presentation. If we're speaking about music, of course, we have to speak about something called copyright. Copyright is a terminology that a lot of us are familiar with. It protects literary, artistic, it protects literary, artistic, music, dramatic works. And I have a couple examples on screen. We have Bungie Garland for Differentology, which is a very important example because this song was featured in one of the opening segments in a very popular TV show known as Grey's Anatomy. Of course, we have Alison Hines. We have Can You Feel It by Aaron Duncan, which was featured in a movie known as Dolphin Kick. And of course, I have a couple characters on screen. These are all protected by copyright. We have a lot of musical expressions. We have a lot of video expressions inside here as well. And of course, we have character work. These are all protected by copyright. Now, what does it mean, or what are the rights that you would enjoy as someone who has an expression protected by copyright? Quite simply, you have the right to copy, and as Mr. Asgarali would like to say, you also have something called your card rights. This is the right to communication, adaptation, reproduction, and distribution, and the right to refuse others from performing these tasks. So very important rights to enjoy under, or that you would have under copyright. And now I turn you all over to Dr. Sita Hall, who will take you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Guy Prasad. And dare I say, I'll say this publicly, a happy birthday to the controller, Mr. Regan Asgarali. Yes, it just so happens his birthday falls right before World IP Day every year. So he, as the controller of intellectual property, is involved as always, and we thank him for his efforts, even though he's not in country. Talking about related rights with regard to musicians and the music industry, they are rights that are related to copyright, and they include rights of performers, broadcasters, and producers of sound recording. So we have some really popular names here, like you have Major Lazer, you have DJ Private Ryan, Alicia Keys is a fantastic performer, and they have rights that are separate in copyright called related rights. Performers is a word that's defined in our Copyright Act. So we have Too Young for Soca, and then Chutney Soca monarch Marshall Montano, the king of soca as he's known. And performers are singers, musicians, and other persons who deliver and play in and otherwise perform their artistic works. This is a nice simplistic breakdown of the rights of artists. You have the author, composer, so songwriters, composers, lyricists, arrangers on the left, and then you can see on the right you have the rights of performers, the singers, the persons who play musical instruments. And I mean, you can read this on your own time. It's a publicly available document, but we have good examples from the region. Bob Marley, of an author composer who is also a performer. You would see him on both sides. Same thing with Lady Gaga, same thing with Elton John. You can see that it's both sides of the coin. They were songwriters, singer, composer, but also the performer at the same time. There are various rights in copyright. Mr. Guy Prasad would have mentioned the economic rights, the communication, the adaptation, the reproduction, and distribution. But there's also moral rights, the right to be named as the author, as the creator. There was a story about Andre Jeffers there, and as being one of the songs he wrote, Stage Gone Bad, that made it really popular in our country. So it's the right to be named as the author, the moral rights, right to not have your work distorted. It is retained and can be waived. One of the important issues that we raise when it comes to music is music in the film industry. So you having synchronization rights, and just to break down that, what can seem like a very large word, synchronization, it means taking existing music and putting it into film, into audiovisual content. So you have that musical composition, and it goes into the film, into the video, into whatever type of audiovisual performance there is. And we see some music by Freetown Collective here. Sometimes if you go into TTT, you would be hearing their music playing. And then we have that movie that Marshall would have released called Bazodi. So you have that type of right. And recently you would see that synchronization rights are increasing from the reports of international organizations. And then you could have master users license and mechanical license. If you wanted more information on this, please call us and we'll talk about it. Just to go into a little more depth on synchronization, the producer must acquire a license or assignment rights to use the musical elements, and they actually doctor it so that it fits within the mold of the film or the video that's being created. There's music and advertising. A lot of revenue can come from advertising, and you can see here you have the Caribbean Airlines presenting with Marshall Montano, and that would be the advertising campaign that they would use for the musicians. Another form of intellectual property that's really popular in this area when it comes to musicians is trademarks. On the left, you would see Sherman Winchester's trademark. We have Ilfanal's, and the Future of Soca is another one of Ilfanal's trademarks. And there's national legislation across pretty much all countries that protect trademarks. And for us, it's the Trademarks Act of Trinidad and Tobago. You can also register what we call sound marks. And this is a really interesting one. I don't know if any of you know Remy Rembonction, but okay, I missed the cue on that one. Let's go back. Rembonction! Yes, so he has his sound mark there, and it's him screaming Rembonction. So that's the first sound mark that was ever registered in Trinidad and Tobago. It's one of the more notable things that we have done under the new Trademarks Act, because it was the first sound mark and the first what we call non-traditional trademark. And in saying that, I'm going to wrap up. If you want to get us on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're also on Twitter. There's our contact information. If you have any questions, please email us and we will get back to you. We will answer your questions. You could come into the Flow Capital Plaza, and we're always happy to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sitahal and Mr. Gaya Prasad, for that highly informative presentation. And to echo the words of our General Manager, always a pleasure working with TTIPU. Which, of course, now we're going to move ahead to the panel discussion featuring producer Mevon Sedin, also known as Explicit Mevon, and artist and songwriter Alison Dazzle Delicia, who will share their success stories of leveraging IP towards revenue generation. This panel will be moderated by my fellow project officer in the music unit, Mr. Martin Manmohan. Please join me as we welcome our guests to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much, Natushka. Hey guys, so welcome. I'm gonna say thank you so much for joining us today. We have two major players in the music industry here, Explicit Mevon and Dazzle being one of our spotlight artists. So because we're a little behind on time, I'm going to just jump straight in, right? So let's start with you, Dazzle. How did you get started in music?
For me, afternoon, by the way, I would have started my music career basically in church. That was basically my foundation. Eventually, I would have moved on to competitions and stuff. So basically, that was my journey. Becoming an entertainer right after into the casinos and hotels and stuff in Trinidad and Tobago. So that was the lead up to me becoming.
Okay, and Mevon, what about you?
My journey was kind of different because I didn't really start off wanting to be a producer. I actually started off being a DJ, along with my business partner DJ Adam 2MV, who's Bungie Garland's DJ now. We started off as a DJ group, a song system back then. You know, leaving secondary school, it was popular to be a DJ at that point in time now. So my introduction to music was basically DJing. And then when I started to learn how to do remixes and stuff, that is when I transitioned fully into the production side of things.
Okay, right. Well, you answered my second question there one time. What about you, Dazzle? When did you decide to say, all right, you're not going to just sing in church, I'm going to maybe start, singing commercially, writing my own songs,
Well, for me, this is a proud moment. I always like to share this information. I believe becoming a spotlight artist under the music company of Trinidad and Tobago really opened my eyes as an artist to recognize and see myself as a product, as a brand, because I believe that I was taking a lot of things lightly and just going through the motions. And sometimes we question ourselves how it is I'm not taking myself to the next level, why it is certain things aren't happening for me. But becoming a part of the music company of Trinidad and Tobago, the Spotlight program, it really opened my eyes, and with the education and the information received to allow me to, take a different approach and understand that this is a business and you need to really stick at it. And the only way for you to grow is to change your mindset. And that is where the differentiation came about, because I would have been singing for years, constantly different platforms, and sometimes you're doing stuff and you can't understand why you're not getting the results as other persons. And that was the big marker for me. Understanding the business aspect, during the course of the program, actually changed my entire life as an artist.
Okay, great. High praise from you, Dazzle. Thank you so much. All right. So, Melvin, I'm going to jump to you. So, I mean, everybody should know you, from all your amazing accomplishments. But let's talk about some of the recent things you've been doing, not just production, but kind of co-writing and stuff too. So tell us about some of your major accomplishments over the last couple of years.
I think coming out of COVID, that is when my career really took off, especially in the super industry. Because I would have started my journey in production doing various amounts of different genres in any local scene. I was doing, well, I still do parang music with Rome. I was doing hip hop music with Mark Hardy and Young Rod, Jimmy October, all of these people. So that's where I really started off. One of the earliest proudest moments I have is when we won the Cut Award for a song called Isa Trinidad, as Mark Hardy, Young Rod, and Jimmy October. It's kind of unprecedented for hip hop, a local hip hop song to win a national award. That was a big deal for us. So we won that for best collaboration. We beat the likes of Marshall Montano, Skinny, Fabulous. It was a category full of soca artists, and we won with a hip hop song. So that was a proud moment for us, breaking that barrier, for doing non-traditional soca songs and winning a category like that. Now fast forward to now, doing soca full time. I would say majority of the productions I do is soca music. um I think one of the, well, obviously the biggest, most recent successes, winning Road March 2025 with Party. That is a big deal. But outside of the production side of things, I think over the years, my involvement in songwriting, not just as a music producer, has increased significantly, because throughout collaborating with people like Kit Israel and other songwriters slash producers, Michael Teja is the next one too. We would have worked over the years, and just doing a lot of work, you kind of learn and pick up little tricks from them. And I started to implement those things within my productions as well. And even when I work with them, I would contribute and actually come up with ideas and pitch it to them and that kind of stuff, and even demo some of my own um recordings and songs. So not just about making the music, but I actually compose the lyrics as well too, and sometimes the melodies. My voice note app on my phone is filled with melodies and gibberish, because sometimes, especially as a producer, I am not great at words, but I'm great at melodies. So I would hear melodies and my tool, I'll play it on in music, and I'll put it down. But then I'm hearing melodies for lyrics on top of that. But I'm not the greatest storyteller, so I would put down the melodies and I'll send it to the people who are great at that, and they would come up with the story and the actual wording of it now. So that is basically my recent successes. I would obviously, as I said, the road march is a big thing. Having won that this year is a big chip off my shoulder because, as I said, post-COVID, I had so much songs. I was so close to that. Nyla Blackman and Skinny Fabulous, Come Home. That was a close one. Anxiety with Patrice. You have all these songs that are doing so well, and then on top of that too, I forgot last year, as I mentioned, Come Home, we won the Caribbean Music Award for Song of the Year. So Andrew Jeffers, he was just highlighted in the slide before. Myself, Kit Israel, and Kyle Phillips, we would have done that song during COVID and pitched it to Nyla and Skinny, and we were heavily involved in that song from the production to the songwriting. So it was an honor for them to actually acknowledge the people behind the scenes for the song and not just the artists themselves, because those songs in particular are so ingrained with our intellectual property and our personality now, because it's not just Nyla and Skinny, they sing a song, but this was us, the people behind the scenes, the producers and the writers, working together for long hours, days upon months sometimes, before we actually pitch it to these people. So winning that award was definitely something special for creatives behind the scenes.
Yeah, I remember you doing the trap show with Marcus and them back in the day, and to see how it just grew to this thing. It's really amazing, and it really make me feel real proud that I knew you from back then, and
yeah.
Now I can't even get you on the phone if I really had to get you. All right, and Dazzle, so you really start off as a performer, and you have now moved into this kind of songwriter situation where you're now writing for other artists and maximizing. Tell us a little bit about that side of it. Dazzle, you hear me? Hello, Dazzle, are you there?
I don't think she hearing you. You hear Dazzle? You hearing him?
I wasn't hearing him for a while. I'm
okay.
still hearing you, but I'm not hearing him right now. There is a his block is actually black and circling.
But he asked you. So you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
She hearing me, but she not hearing you, Martin.
That's real weird. How you not hearing me? Are you hearing me now?
No.
She's still not hearing you.
No, I'm not.
You want me to ask the question?
Yeah. Ask her now.
Yeah, I'm hearing him now.
Okay. Oh, you hearing me now? Okay. Right. So I was saying, so you really started off as a performer, especially coming into the Spotlight program. Performance was where you kind of focused on. But moving now as a songwriter, not just for yourself, but for other artists. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
This is an amazing journey. I would have recently collaborated on with Terry Lyons on Vintage Vibe. That is for the soca season 2025. Currently, I am working with some other artists from Barbados as well. So it's really an amazing experience to actually become or impart your knowledge and your abilities or impart it to someone else. So honestly, it has been an amazing journey where that is concerned.
Okay, great. So, all of these nice accomplishments are nice to talk about, right? But you have to also make it a business and make sense to spend your time and effort doing these things. So, what steps have you all taken? I'll ask you first, Dazzle. What steps have you taken to make sure that you benefit from spending all this time and effort to make creative products?
From inception, I would say, ensure that you have your split sheets out open communication whereby, you all define roles and functions for persons and ensure, um, how we're going to make this project work for each other. And like I said, the role and function as to who is the songwriter or percentages, so forth.
Right. And I know, so Mevon, for the producer side, I know is a little bit different, especially in the soca industry, how you approach those sides. I mean, you don't have to give away all your secrets, but maybe you could give us a little insight onto how does the business get arranged on that side? Am I getting a percentage? Am I being paid up front? What kind of arrangements do you, well, I wouldn't say what do you do, but what you prefer to do?
Yeah, to answer the first part of the question, I think what I do to safeguard myself and my intellectual property is, first of all, you have to become a member of CUT. I think becoming a member of the copyright organization of Trinidad and Tobago is a first step. You have to copyright your works. I am a dual member between CUT and BMI, so I have BMI collecting on my international productions. So in the event that my song gets a sync license in a movie or that kind of stuff, or it plays on satellite radio and all these different things, or even when the artists perform in these various territories that my business is being handled. So that is the first step, becoming a member of the various copyright organizations to handle your royalty collection for you. Beyond that, I think having distribution deals or contracts with the various distributors, whether it be Fox Fuse, TuneCore, CD Baby, DistroKid, the list goes on and on. I think with the emergence of streaming music and the streaming platforms, it is important that we monetize our music when it is being played and streamed, especially on social media with Apple Music on IG Music and all these TikTok and your song could blow up in the weirdest of platforms. So you need to have a distributor that monetizes those platforms for you to make sure that you are given your rewards and your royalties. So that is the second step. So copyright and distribution. The conversations now that you're talking about as a producer, personally for me, I am in a position where I could say that I don't really charge to do songs. I play the long game, and I tend to operate like a label where I work for percentages. Very rarely I would charge somebody to do a song, or even if the person insisting that they want to pay, I would be like, well, pay me half my price and let's split the master ownership 50-50. Because I understand the importance of owning or having ownership or percentages in songs in the long run, because you would hate to give up, sell a song. Let's just say you sell a song for 2,000 US or 3,000 US, which is roughly 10 to 20,000 TT dollars, right? It might sound cool for somebody who know doing this. You'd be like, hey, I get 10,000 or I get 15,000 TT up front, but that money is going to finish in no time. That money is going to do nothing for you. So how I see it is that I look at it as literally real estate. Hence the reason why when you hear the big pop artists and stuff, like they trying to buy back their rights and stuff, you hear them owning their estate, or they sold their estate for so much, because it is real estate. It is a lifetime commodity now. It's something that you have created, and to sell it for something that might seem cool now, but you never know, in 20 years or 30 years, your song could get signed to, and it could blow up,
Right.
It could get placed in a movie, that kind of stuff. So I like to play the long game. I like to say, I'm not charging, you split the percentages accordingly. If it is you want to pay something up front, I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll cover these costs, and because creating a song, there's multiple costs associated with a song. It's not just about the music side. There's marketing, there's artwork, there's promo, there's email blast, there's all these different things for a song to be released. So all these things have a cost attached to it. So I would barter and have conversations with them. Okay, cool. You're not paying for the production, but cover this, and we would split accordingly. There's no right or wrong, or there's no rule of thumb to say, well, the producer will get 50% or the producer will own 90%. It really depends on the contribution that the artist or the artist side of things they contribute towards the song itself, and then we would negotiate based on that. Because there's this thing called rhythms we have in soca, as a lot of you all probably know. And when it is a producer puts out a rhythm, it's essentially like a music label putting out an album for an artist, right? So it's like a various artist compilation album. That is what a rhythm is. So the producer will now fit the entire bill of the artwork, the mixing, the mastering, the recording, the songwriting, every single thing. And what we like to do in Trinidad, at least in the soca industry, is that we give the artists complimentary, if that's the word, a 20% percentage on the master royalty. They don't pay for anything. But because you using your image, your likeness, and you bring in your brand to the song, I think we value that at a 20% royalty, and that figure could go up, it could go down, because there's some artists who say, well, I bring in so much more to the table. I'm going to pay for a music video. I'm going to do all of these different things. But at least the conversation for us, we started at 20. If an artist wants to invest more and say, well, I'm going to put more money into this for a higher percentage, then that could be arranged too. As I said, there's no rule of thumb. But we start at 20 and we kind of go from there now. It's the same with copyright. When it is we doing a song, well, obviously, we start, producer gets 50%, writer and artist gets 50% to split. Most cases, at least in modern music, the producer would start the beat from scratch first, and then we would send to writers. Very rarely now in 2025, I have artists coming to me with songs done, and I have to build the music around that. Most times we send beats to writers, or we send beats directly to artists themselves, and they write to our intellectual property. And that is why we kind of start the negotiation. And okay, I created this music by myself, 50% for me. And if you write the song by yourself, 50% for you on the copyright side of things, right? If there's multiple producers, we split accordingly. If there's multiple songwriters, we split accordingly. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes the producer writes and produces. So if the artist just comes and puts their voice on the song, then you can't get 50%. In my eyes, that doesn't make sense, because I would have produced the song and I would have written it as well. So that negotiation now, or that conversation needs to happen between that artist and that producer to say, all right, well, how much value, or how do you value your contribution on the song? So as I said, there's no rule of thumb, but there are baselines in which we kind of start discussions. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if it's one takeaway from this thing is what everyone just talk about there, because we get questions about that almost every day at Music TT or Global Trinidad and Tobago. So that's really, really good knowledge and insight into the workings of the industry there. All right, so let's jump to the last question, because we want to try to get back on track. So I'm going to start with you, Dazzle. Any advice for persons looking to transition from a performer to a writer? Do you have any advice there?
Be open-minded, be open to networking, be pushy, because sometimes you have to create opportunities for yourselves. Sometimes you have to reach out to persons and say, hey, let me send a beat for me, let me try something, because sometimes as you're now starting, people don't know what you can do, what you're capable of doing. So sometimes you in this industry, you really need to be pushy and create opportunities for yourself. No one is coming to save you. It's a business. Sitting and stating that I have a talent and I can write and I could do this better is going to get you nowhere. So you need to be pushy and believe in yourself, basically.
Yeah, great advice. What about you, Melvin? Any advice for like a producer looking to really, you know,
Yeah,
start and develop something?
yeah, I think learn the business. I think that's the first step I would tell anybody. Learn the business and secure your business. Meaning if it is you want to do songwriting, then understand who are the major songwriters in the game, network with them, find out the information about songwriting, how much people usually charge for songwriting. If they are charging, because just like what I said, I don't really charge for certain services because I want to own my work.
Right.
So there are songwriters who say I'm not going to charge, but I will just take a percentage on the master as well as the copyright. So there's various ways in which you can handle your business. So I think learn the business. And then, as I said earlier in our previous question, um, handle your business in terms of registering with copyrights, finding a distributor, on various distributors, because I have an account with Fox Fuse, TuneCore, CDBB, 1RPM. I'm not playing that. So anybody come to me and say, well, they're distributing with this distributor, I have an account to them because you know what? I want my splits. Right. So that is how I just see about my business. So make sure that the paperwork and the business on the back end is secure. I think that is the number one thing that you need to organize when it comes to getting into the industry. Understand the business and see about it. There's somebody who asked a question there that I feel is really important, about pitching. Somebody asked about pitching songs before, it's like securing your songs or your intellectual property. What I do is that I do close chats. If I send somebody a beat, especially artists, I do close chats. So there's nothing anybody can come and say, well, I didn't send it to you and have these conversations. And in some cases, I would actually email it and say, well, based on our discussion on WhatsApp, I'll put that now. If I realize that you're kind of shady, like I will do things like that. But I do close WhatsApp chats and I make sure and send email, because even with artists who I'm close with, like Rome in particular, Rome is my really good friend, and I do a lot of his parang stuff. After we agree on something, we would say, all right, cool, the song is out. Mevon has agreed on 50% master ownership. Rome has 50% master ownership. And we would agree so and so splits, whatever. And he would say, right, respond saying received or accepted or something like that. And that's our personal contract between us now. I know in the industry we don't really like to sign contracts and stuff, but just having evidence of the communication between you all, I think that is super important to have in the industry to safeguard yourself. So I hope that answers that person's question.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is really great stuff. I'm going to ask y'all if y'all could stick around for the questions we're going to have at the end, because we're going to probably have a few more questions. Again, I want to thank so much Dazzle and Melvon for this panel. This is really, really great advice. The replays of this will probably be available on our YouTube, so people could like log in if they haven't been able to log in live. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. I'm going to throw it back to Natushka.
Hi again, guys. I mean, echoing what Mate just said, thank you for that inspiring conversation. And we wish you both the best of success moving forward in your musical careers as well. Thank you. So now we are moving on from here. We have a fireside chat with Mr. Akua Leith, who is the Managing Director of Midco. He is also an entrepreneur, a steel pan arranger, a composer, player, and an orchestra. Sorry, ate my words there. And also orchestra. having trouble with words right now, a conductor as well. He will also be joined by Mr. Richard Aching, Manager and Technical Examination at the Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office. Together, they will talk about the steel pan industry and the work that has been undergone to protect our national instrument. Over to you, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good to see you again, Aku. And thanks to our hosts at Global TT for facilitating this. And of course, for the our guests who are willingly giving up their Friday afternoon to have a. I was wondering why we call it a fireside chat. Oh gosh, they could have called it a beach lime. That's more up our alley.
Yeah, for Friday evening, yeah.
For Friday evening, yes, I agree. So riffing off of some of the discussions we had as to how well the music industry and the IP system is being used to underpin what we've been hearing with other artists and other genres. I was wondering, does any of that translate over to the steel pan fraternity? Are they using the IP system and monetizing the industry using that system? How is it working for them?
To be honest, I don't think not as it should be. I believe the industry is still not aware of some of these possibilities when it comes to IP and owning certain rights and so forth, and having right holdings towards different aspects of what they do. It is still an untapped market for us, I believe. So how do we get them to the point of knowing is where the question is. I know Music TT, now with the new name, they actually had a few of these seminars happening, but I'm not sure it was well attended by the steel pan fraternity. So it's almost like we need to kind of condition or zero into that space with this knowledge for them to understand the possibilities of IPs and what that could do for them and their careers.
Yes, I was actually looking at a recent report by the IFPI that represents the recording industry, and they're looking at how the revenue streams are moving. Yeah. So depending on how you've been consuming music or how you've been producing music in the past, the world has long gone away from selling vinyl and cassettes and CDs. It's like 70% of the revenue is now streaming revenue, and like less 16% and under is physical media. Yeah. Meaning that we're hoping that our guys, I'm wondering how much are our guys willing to get on board, produce their materials, and then put it out there on the streaming platforms to see how who will bite.
Yeah, that's the thing, you see. And when I think of the steel pan industry, it's right for us. We are always improvising. We are always doing some type of performance. It's from the point of view of just having music that doesn't really need lyrics. It's just about having the instrument talk to the audience. That's for sure. Instrumentals could take on the streaming market by storm. But there's a lack of information there. I mean, just recording yourself and in a proper way and having that posted on Spotify and all these different things could generate revenue. So it's a ripe market for the steel pan.
I agree. I think maybe our musicians and the band leaders need to appreciate how the industry has changed. So when I was following the music industry when I was younger in the 80s, you'd hear about bands hoping to get signed by a big label, a record company, and the record company will make them famous and put them on the map. Now we are seeing guys staying home in their garage, in their bedroom studio with a guitar, and as was said, and just blowing up on Instagram and YouTube.
Yep.
By themselves and self-releasing their creations. Many of them are professionally done, and they self-release and they put it out there for streaming.
Yeah, and I think that you said something there where how the industry was viewed. And I think that could be one of our issues. We don't see ourselves as part of the industry. We see ourselves as persons who prepare a volume of work to play at a gig or to compete at competitions and that sort of thing. And the recording conversation is never top of mind in many bands. I mean, you could go to some of the major bands in Trinidad. Let's find out how many of them have a label, or not just a label, but some type of recording or album that they release yearly from their stateside song that they already play and they already have it refined. All you need now is to have the proper recording equipment and then the proper persons to put them on the right platforms. So recording as a conversation or just as a thought in our space is not as prevalent as it should be. So seeing yourself in the industry is important to even track what you are tracking here.
Yes, I agree. Usually when I consume a lot of live performance DVDs, and you hear them say, "We are recording tonight," meaning that they came out with the intention to record. So a number of things. The sound recording, the equipment is top notch. The mic placement, and also the musicians, the performers will be well aware of what's riding on tonight's performance. No slip ups. It's got to be spot on because we're recording for a DVD, we're recording for a CD, and there's an intent to capture that. And if you're older like me, there are some classic recordings that have not been recaptured again, and so it's important to capture those performances. Because you don't always get the same lightning striking the inspiration twice.
That's true. Yeah, that's important. It has to be intentional. It has to be part of the unfolding of that particular organization. Okay, as you said, we are preparing this song to record by this date for this purpose. You know, all those things has to be part of the conversation or as the execution within that space. But it's exciting. What excites me is the fact that it's at the point where the conversations are happening, the product is there, the possibilities is just now to break that gap or bridge the gap between the recording aspects and then getting them to see that industry and start to execute there. One band do it, and I think it will be a ripple effect down the line from there.
We were discussing that in the office, and a comment was made that sometimes you just need one person to blow up, as we say.
That's it.
And the others will say, "Oh, there's a future in that. We should all be doing that." And people will hopefully turn in the right direction.
That's it.
So we want to encourage all these people.
That first breakthrough.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just sheer volume of output to get noticed. There's some people who they very humbly sit down in their little lab, their studio lab, and putting on content. And at some point, it will catch on, and people will start talking. "Hey, have you heard this fella? He's real good, you know. You should go and check him." And it starts small, and people go and they check him. And so we want to encourage even not just a big band. And we're talking to you individual panists out there, or pan experimenters, or who featuring pan in something else. Just record it, create it, record it, put it up. Even if you have to put it up for free, and somebody might bite.
Is the marketing stage, the awareness stage, you know? As Bevon said, he does a lot of things for free, but understanding the percentages, and that's a big statement. You understand? And going for the long game, not just thinking of instant gratification, you know? You had to have a bigger picture plan in place. So okay, the marketing side, just record and put online, and not just from a music platform perspective, but Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and just do that as you said, intentional as your norm. Every day I'm going to do a composition. Every day I'm going to do a piece. I'm going to release a cover. I'm going to collaborate with another musician. I'm just going to be as consistent as I can until it kicks off, you know?
And it's not just original pieces. To have seen some people figure, well, I need to be a purist and do my own creations. There's scope for persons who perform other people's music. I know this is in other genres. Some guys who play cello, performing somebody's famous some famous bands' music, and in time, the famous band realized, there's some guys playing cello and playing our music. We should invite them on tour with us. They're
Exactly.
pretty good
Mhm.
just by that association.
That's true. I tend to see those type of juxtaposed club where this person puts up this post and they do 12 bars of music and they leave 12 more bars for somebody else to come in and they let's leave the back.
Yes.
So things like that, I actually start seeing becoming a little more popular online. But yes, just doing a cover of the most famous trombone solo on a cello pan in Trinidad, or the most famous trumpet solo on a tenor or a double tenor, that brings a sense of awareness to these places that now sees this as, hey, this could be almost like a juxtapose of what we call a traditional orchestra to this newfound sound. And boom, partners in all these different places. And you see people like Liam Teague, Professor Liam Teague, his son is now doing it. You see Josanne Francis is doing it. All these persons, they are now collaborating with these traditional orchestras or traditional jazz groups and really, really bringing some type of positive exposure to the instrument.
Yes, I've seen it. I follow guitar, and if you're
Right.
good enough, you can get to the stage where there'll be an orchestral setting, and the guitarist, because he's famous, is front
Right.
and center with the solo
Yes.
part. He
Yes.
delivers, and the rest of the orchestra just follows him, and it's a fantastic piece of output. Now that's based on somebody's consistent performance that the conductor can say, I
Correct.
can rely on you to hold your end up in this. And that
Correct.
depends on, well, have
Because
I
it's a
ever
brand
seen?
thing too. They are aligning their brand with this.
Yes. So you have to self-brand. Some musicians get famous by the combination of personality plus talent. So they're not just a cold, monotone player who just performs and doesn't connect with his audience. There are all these aspects of it, I think, that go along with it.
Yes.
So that's what
Well, I mean,
we look
beyond
at.
just the
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I think we're going back in and out, but yes, you can finish your statement.
No, as a suggestion that we want trying to push our guys in the direction that we've seen others doing, and like the collaboration. So one guy decides, I'm laying out a beat and a rhythm and a background track, and then he invites all the other YouTubers who've been doing this kind of music. I'd like you guys to give me a 20-second or whatever solo over this piece, and then they stick them together so it flows. So you're moving from artist to
Correct.
artist. And all they ask the collaborator to do, you just put your melody on a silver platter over my rhythm or under my beat, or over my beat, sorry. And we'll string it all together and let it run together. And the people who consume these things, just looking to see their favorite artists play something they're familiar with. So it could be as simple as Pan does Michael Jackson, for example. Just to, and of course, there's going to be issues with the rights to it. But sometimes it's just to let the wider publics know that, these songs that the Pan can play that too, And the songs
That's it.
is a whole different dimension that you expose people to.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, that has happened organically. Like, I remember having a conversation with one of my colleagues about going into a new market, and all she said is, let's play the music of that particular market you're looking to go into and get them excited about it. Mind you, this is things we do, but
Yes.
from an intentional perspective, putting all the things behind that intention of playing the music, making sure you have available instruments, making sure you have CDs to sell, making sure you have a concert in place, all the necessary things that carry that as a whole marketing push will change the game. Just that simple thing, letting them hear something that they are familiar with on the instrument that you are looking to introduce. So that's true. And another thing I saw happening too is Pan showing up in different types of venues. We see it for the halftime on a basketball game. It's playing the national anthem of the United States, whichever country that particular game is happening. I saw too from a marching band perspective, that was big football games. You notice how the marching band showing up with their trombones and the conductor and all the flag wavers, all these different things. Pan is in the middle of that too. So putting it and juxtaposing it alongside other musical festivals or cultures, it is kind of building momentum. But it should be, as you said, intentional. I think that's the point here.
It's part of connecting with audience, or you want to make a connection. And I've seen it with a foreign band that's touring, let's say Brazil, and you hear it as soon as the band decides to play Girl from Ipanema or some Brazilian drum beats, and you see the crowd just go wild, like, yes, you understand us, you know us.
Yes.
And that's important. That connection is important. So
Well,
I want to thank you.
that is,
If you have any final thoughts.
yes, no problem. No, what I was going to close by saying, that is what have me here today. My first experience on a tour, when we played a particular repertoire, and at the end of that, I was 18 years old. I became a superstar, signing autographs, and people want to see under the pan. And just by playing repertoire that they were familiar with, we made persons cry by playing God Bless America. All these different things is what made me realize, hey, this is something special. This is a special instrument, and we should really take it forward as a career. So yes.
Yeah, so I think we know what we need to do. It's just to get our people to please get out there and please get out there, create. Let others feel our beat, let's say, so to speak. So I want to thank Akua for taking the time off to join us for our fireside or beach chair chat, I like to say. I'll give you another idea for next time. And thank you very much for the time, and thank you for the organizers for giving us this time to have a candid chat about the music industry as it relates to Japan. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. I think we'll take that advice for beachside for next time instead of fireside. I think that's a great idea. So thank you for that very insightful and enlightening conversation. And with that, I'm definitely already looking forward to World Steel Pan Day for 2025 celebrations to see how more we expand everything, etc. So before we move on to our Q&A session facilitated by Mate of Global Trinidad and Tobago, we would like to make an announcement about our Reverb Experience 2-day artist development workshop, which will be happening on May 16th and 17th. This workshop will be facilitated by Steve Urchin Wilson, a seasoned music industry executive and part of the management team of global superstar Sean Paul. We also have Dana Shigan, a music, media, and technology executive specializing in marketing, advertising, and content monetization. We also will have Michael Tano Montano, award-winning songwriter and music producer. We will have our registration link in the comments for more details, so please click that afterwards and you can go ahead. So I'm going to hand it over to Mate for our question and answer section. Thank you.
Thanks again, Natushka. I keep pressing the button and putting you in and out. So we have a bunch of questions in the chat, but if you all have any other questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. So I'm going to ask TTIPO to come in, Nicholas or Kavish, you all could answer some of these questions. I'm inviting back Mevon and Dazzle as well, and Akua. So we will all try to get these questions together. So the first question I'm seeing here, I think this will be directed at TTIPO. So music is a composite work. Is the producer the entrepreneur who negotiates for the IP components and IP rights in design and manufacture of the music process? So y'all let me know, how is it defined by law, I'm assuming? So anybody from TTIPO could respond to this?
So I believe the person who would have written that was Mr. Lalo Ramlan. He's actually from the IP office. So
Right.
Yeah, music can be a composite work. In many ways, it's right. And the entrepreneur who negotiates is the producer, the entrepreneur. It really depends on the contract. And I think Mr. Ramlan is just raising the issue for for us to talk about. It depends on the contract. It depends on what the parties agree. And explicit, I think you would have mentioned it. How you go about negotiating that is up to everyone involved, and you would have to have those contracts and negotiations done. Usually, hopefully it's done in advance, because when you're doing it after, you see a difference in the negotiating powers of the parties. I would like the artists themselves to give us some of their practical experience, please.
Yeah, Mavon. I mean, I don't know if you want to jump in there.
I mean, I have had situations where these discussions start after the song is done, and it gets weird. It gets very tricky, and all of a sudden the vibe is very serious. When you're doing the music and in the studio, I'm vibing, I'm creating the songs. Nobody wants to have these difficult discussions then. So when it is ready to switch hats and be like, okay, from producer to know it's like a label or like business, the conversation gets weird. People just suddenly start to blue ticks, they're not seeing you, they're not responding, or they're busy, they'll call you back. It's just things like that that's happened when it is you're having these kind of conversations after the fact now. There are some people who, however, have had the conversations after, and it's been normal because, as I said, with me, at least for people I custom working with, they kind of know my business routines and what I give and what I offer now. But I guess it is important to set these standards or have these discussions beforehand. There are a few artists who do that beforehand. Urban Alves is one of them who's be like, if I send him a beat, he's be like, where's the business? That's be the first thing before he even write a lyric. His response is to be like, cool, it's a rhythm, it's a single, where's the business? And then I would tell him, well, it's a rhythm, so you get 20%. Or if it's a single, then you would be like, okay, well, we'll go 50-50, whatever. And we start the negotiations then. But it's important to have the discussions. You can't just assume, because a lot of people don't have the discussions. And when it is songs either win competitions or they get signed to sync licenses and all these different things, people just come wanting money now, and it's like, but wait now, we never agree on this. So it's important to have these things in black and white, or in our WhatsApp chat or in our email chat thread or something like that, where you have proof that, hey, we discussed these percentages, and if it is the song goes on to get sync licenses or wins a competition and it makes money, then you have a agreement for that, how that money is going to be split. So especially in carnival time, like what I do is I have a competition clause. So I do that specifically for songs that people are, well, for every song for carnival, I have a competition clause where I say, all right, well, I want if it is used my song and it wins, I want a certain percentage of the gross earnings. Because a lot of people might come and say, well, yeah, well, you win $1 million, but I spend $1 million on props. And it's like, how that making sense, bro? So we need to have these discussions up front where some artists feel smart and they will try to outsmart the creators and the creators behind the scenes, and they will come with all kind of exorbitant expenses and say, well, let's do it after expenses. And when you look at the expenses, let's say you make $10, the expenses are $9. So now you're telling me I need to get 20% of $1. How does that make sense for me? You understand? So these are the discussions that you need to have now. So it's get tricky, but somebody had to do it.
I know Dazzle had also hit the nail on the head when she said it's not just about being a musician, and you mentioned some of it there. It's about being a business person. So, can you give us your practical experiences, how you learned to be a business person? Did you have to burn to learn?
I burned a lot. But like you said, to be honest, having those difficult conversations at the forefront is very, very important, because people get bright when they see the work, because it's like, wow, I didn't expect it to be so great. I didn't expect it to sound so awesome. I didn't expect people to be interested in what it is I was doing. So eventually, people start to go missing. People not responding to messages, all these things. So you need to have these conversations up front because people just get bright when they see, hey, I was expecting a red ball, but it turned into a big star. And they didn't really bargain for all of that, you know? So it's really important to lay your cards on the table initially. Let's discuss the difficult things because it really do become awkward. Everyone is always happy to have a, a opportunity to be a part of something great, and especially like you would have mentioned, if it is you're in it playing the game for the long haul, whereby a lot of financial expenses are not invested to the upfront. It's like they will be so happy to be a part of a project such as that one, but eventually as the project starts to grow, you know, they start to develop a little air about themselves because now you need me because this going to be great and whatnot or whatever. However, so it's very important to ensure that you discuss what we're doing or splits. This is what we're going to do. You have whatever percentages on the master. This is what's on the copyrights. Make sure it's done because people tend to go missing sometimes.
I also want to add a scenario. There's some cases where, let's say we agree on an artist getting a certain percentage, right? Let's just say 20%. They get 20% on the master, they get 20% on the copyrights because they didn't write the song. Or they would have contributed a small amount towards the writing of the song. And the song gets they now get an opportunity for the song to get a sync license. And in order to get that sync license, the people are asking them if they own the song. And what they would try to do is come back and be like, hey, I want to buy the song outright from you. And it's be like, why you want to do that? Like, we agree 20%. And they kind of hide their cards because and this is a real life example, and let's not call it no names. But this has happened, and relationships have broken up because of things like this now. And who I'm talking about is a very big artist, right? It's not no young artist I'm talking about. It's a very big artist and a very big producer. And these conversations happened after the fact because they wanted to own the song so that they could get a possibly $1 million deal for a song to get signed outside. And the producer held his ground and be like, no, they had to come through me because this is my rhythm, this is my song. I wrote the song, I produced the song, you would have helped, but we agreed on 20%. And that deal went nowhere because they didn't want to share it with the producer. They just wanted to outright get the money now. You know, and these are some of the discussions to show people are very, when money is on the table, a lot of people change, you know, so they show their true colors. So it gets awkward even if you do the right thing. In the future, sometimes it could get even more awkward sometimes when people have opportunities on the table and they want to renegotiate. Hey, let's renegotiate a higher percentage or that kind of thing when the song already get big now. But the song got big because of the work that was put in from before. So don't just come now and be like, hey, I want a bigger percentage now as the song blowing up or you have opportunities. You know, it's kind of unfair to the creatives who would have put in the work. So you have to expect these things too as well.
Okay, I have another question here because I want to try and get as much as we can. We have like 10 minutes again, right? So Kadil here is asking, Trinidad musicians don't really have readily available resources from the state. So how should musicians go about creating and protecting their music with very little to no financial help? So maybe you can talk about automatic protection.
Yeah, copyright is a type of intellectual property, right? That is automatic. So once it's created and it's original, it's automatic. But I would say, you know, it's something that happens around the world. You have starving artists around the world. You would have heard stories about all of these people who come up through all of their personal stories, and some of them become extremely successful. So it is about the product, not to raise something that's necessarily outside of Trinidad and Tobago, but if you hear the story of chain smokers and one of their biggest hits, Roses, they were recording, I believe, in a New York apartment, and they said it's a crappy little apartment, and they had to cover the windows so that the sound wouldn't come in. So they stacked towels, and so it's a reality. I mean, Akua, I see you shaking your head. Akua, I know you probably have some stories, so you could tell us, Mr. Fulbright Scholar there. Akua?
No, I mean I was just smiling of the journey. I mean, I'm sure each one of us here have a journey story. So yeah, the point of that, there are ways in which you could go about getting your stuff protected, and maybe the state needs to get involved more. But it's not just to sit and depend on the state. It's really to get up and do what you need to do and ask questions and use the other platforms that is free and readily available for yourself. And that is where your momentum builds, and then persons pay attention from there. So I get the point and I agree with that, but don't make you stop do what you need to do to get your work published and ready for consumption.
And dare I say, let me just add very quickly that there are resources available. You can come to the Intellectual Property Office. There is Global Trinidad and Tobago under TIPA that gives a lot of free resources, a lot of information, a lot of education that is readily available.
Yeah, I have Mr. Robin. I'll ask the next slightly controversial question here, but I'm going to just put stuff for Makua there, right? Is the steel panel organized, and what manner of policy is required to organize the industry?
Yeah, so I will say yes, the steel pan industry is organized. I mean, we have a body called Trinidad who does some extremely good work to date, especially the last few years pertaining to different things around the industry. The point of talking about policies, it just as we have the conversation there is really about intention. They don't know what they don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So like how we're talking about different things. Is Bevon or Devon?
Mevon.
Mevon. You see, I'm saying the wrong thing all the time. Mevon. Good to see you again, sir. But how Mevon is saying is that he has been doing this for some time, but he was comfortable talking the money talk, because that's the next thing I tend to see with colleagues of mine. It's not just about the music business, but the business of steel pan as well. We need to start talking about the business of pan, and not just from a manufacturing perspective or competition perspective, but from the soloists and what things they could benefit from it. What is the business behind music, and what this instrument can contribute towards? So the steel pan fraternity is organized. I just think we now need to expose ourselves to things beyond what we are very comfortable with, which is competition, panorama, and all these different things. There are other aspects to things that they can tap into to generate and to receive some type of income or career in music.
All right, and I'm going to jump to this one as our last question before we wrap up. So Yelena is asking, what are some examples of trademarks that can be used in the music industry? And I'm assuming she's thinking besides the Rembunction one.
Right. So any artist who has a distinctive sound, if we're talking about the sound mark, any artist who has a distinctive sound, and it fits within the definition of a sound mark. So it's not a whole song. That's a song. We talk about copyright when we talk about songs. But with a trademark, it's a distinctive sound, usually very short, that grabs the audience's attention. We have some that are filed and published. I won't give it out, but there are lots of examples of sound trademarks, like the sound for Mario and Mario Brothers, in Super Mario Brothers. That coin sound was one of their trademark sounds. So is there anything that is really distinctive that you want to use all the time? So I don't know if any of these artists here have a specific sound and their DJ handle that they use at the start of every song, at the end of every song, throughout the song, something like that. Those are your sound marks. The other types of normal trademarks, the traditional trademarks as we call them. I mean, there are lots and lots of examples of trademarks within the music industry that you can look towards. You can also do the example of Sherwin Winchester that I would have given with, there's another one with Marshall, that they have their silhouette. They have their literal likeness as part of their brand. And you can You can do lots of different things with it. However you want your logo, it could just be a name, it could be an artist name, it could be a full name. Sky's the limit with regard to your trademarks.
How is there a cost attached to trademarking?
Yes. So there is a cost. It depends. I'll give you the lawyer's answer. It depends on the type of trademark. Everyone's shake their, oh my God. No, it really depends because the classification, we have to classify. Come in and check us. We'll tell you the cost. We'll help you file it. I expect to see all the artists say, come in and protect your branding. And it doesn't have to be a good example. Irfan Alves, whose trademarks I would have put in the example, he has multiple brands. So it's not just your main brand. It could be something that you're doing with the business on the side. So Irfan has that EA signature, that his logo that he wants, but he's also doing Future Soca, and he's doing different types of branding for podcasts and broadcasts that he wants to get involved in. So it's not just, I come back to what Dazzle said, it's not just about you as a musician, but you as a business person and how you plan to expand yourself and broaden your horizons. I don't know if any of the artists, you have any logos you want to throw up there and show us. I see that Mitko on his chest there. Yeah, there you go.
I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways for me is I didn't even know that you could do the sound mark. See, here in the Rembunction one, I'm a producer and I have a producer tag.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about registering that producer tag because I use that in every beat that I do. You hear that explicit boy in it now, and I want to do that. So I didn't even know that was a thing. So now I'll definitely come and give all your little vibes.
Come through for sure.
So you see, this is an example of just even Mevon as a big producer is what we don't know what we don't know. We really can't do enough of these things to get persons aware of how they can really tap into the full opportunity of the industry. And that could be how our governments could get involved and so forth on different platforms to get involved.
For sure.
All right. So, I want to thank everybody again. This was really informative. They had some more questions there, but we are running out of time and we don't want to keep everybody back. It's a Friday evening. I know people have things they have to be and, whatnot. So I'm going to throw it back to Natushka. Again, I want to thank everybody for all their contributions. Thanks for my panel. Thank you, Akuo, for that fireside chat. Thank you, TTIPO, for putting all this together for us. So I am jumping back to you, Natushka.
Hi. Okay. So thank you to the audience for staying with us. I hope that the information that was shared today was useful and informative. Thank you again to our partners, the Trinidad and Tobago Intellectual Property Office and the World Intellectual Property Organization. We hope that we were able to bring home the importance of IP in fostering innovation and economic growth for our music creators and how you can help support its ecosystem. We thank everybody that was part of it, all our speakers and all our guests. Thank you and have a great afternoon and a great weekend.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
If you all have questions, feel free to email us. We'll be in touch.